again. I'm back with another TST video for you all. Now, how are you doing? How are you doing? How's school going? Online? How is that? How is it in lockdown? Are you getting out? Are you going for lots of nice walks with your family? Let us know in the comments if you want to about how you are doing. Now, I've got another story for us this week. This story is all about a guy called Saul. And he actually had a bit of a transformation, and so I want to talk about that a bit. Now, Saul was a man who absolutely hated, disliked Jesus and anyone that followed Jesus, anyone that believed in Jesus, anyone that went around with Jesus, anyone that was friends with Jesus. Like, he just hated them. It didn't matter what they were like. If they knew Jesus, if they liked him, he didn't like them. And so he would actually not just not like them, but he would go out of his way to find these people that liked Jesus, and he would put them in prison, or he would be mean to them and he would hurt them. He would do all these horrible things to them. And he just really wasn't a nice person, because these people that believed in Jesus, they weren't doing anything wrong. Like, they just believed in Jesus. Why did he have to put them in prison? But Saul felt that he was doing the right thing. And although we wouldn't agree, that's what he thought was the right thing. And so that's what he would go around doing. However, one day, Saul was on his way, just like he did every day, to go find some more believers to throw in prison. And suddenly, there was like a massive, massive great light. And it was so, so bright. It was like you need your sunglasses, but even they wouldn't help. Like, it was so, so bright. And it was that bright that he got thrown onto the floor in like shock, and he couldn't see anything. It was really scary. And as he was thrown onto the floor, he heard a voice say, "Saul, Saul, why do you want to persecute me?" Which means, like, go out and say I'm doing things wrong when I'm not. And this voice was actually Jesus' voice, the very person that he hated the most and hated anyone that believed in him. And when this thing happened, Saul was afraid. Saul had been wrong all this time, he realised. That actually maybe Jesus wasn't a bad guy. And all of a sudden it all came to light, and he realised, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Jesus isn't a bad guy. These people aren't bad for following him. I shouldn't be trying to hurt them and put them in prison. And so what happened next was Jesus told Saul to go into the next town to meet a man named Ananias. And because of this great light, Saul was blind. And this meant that his friends, the men with him, also had to lead him to this town. He couldn't even get there on his own because he couldn't see because of this great light. Like, he didn't have his sunglasses. He wasn't all right. And so when Saul got there, he met Ananias, who had also been told by Jesus to go see Saul. And what he told Saul was that Saul had a very important job to do. And when they greeted and they touched each other and they maybe hugged, right away Saul could see again. He wasn't blind anymore, and he could see. And God changed Saul's life forever. And now he loved God. And his name actually got changed and he became Paul. So Saul became Paul, and he lived for God the rest of his days and did loads of amazing work, just as God had told him that he was going to do. And that's an amazing story, because it shows us that, you know what, whatever we do in life, we can change. We don't have to stay this way. We can change and become better people. We don't have to think, oh, I've done one bad thing, I can't be nice to that person now. Actually, we can always change. And God can help us do that as well. And so we can pray to God and say, God, please will you help me be a nice person to that person? Or, please, I realise maybe I was a bit mean. Can you help me to be nice to them? And so to help us remember that, we're going to make a craft today of Saul becoming Paul. So this is Saul before. He looks a bit scary with his eyes because he can't see. And then he becomes Paul, and he can see again, and he can see what he was doing was wrong, and that actually he can help, and he can be a better person, and he can like Jesus, and he doesn't need to hate on Jesus and put people in prison for that. And so I'm going to show you how to make this craft now. enjoyed making this craft all together like this, and you can see the difference between Saul and Paul and the change that God made in his life. And so I just hope you have a great week. Bye!